All right, I love this energy. God, I wish I had something like this when I started 15 years ago. Are people up there? There are people up there. Hi up there. All right. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you, Mind the Product, for entertaining my antics. Thank you all for giving me part of your day. What I really want to talk about has been my transition from product to being a CEO. I want to talk about crazy CEOs. I won't ask you to raise your hands because you're probably here with a coworker and no one wants to be called out for saying their CEO is crazy. But there are some crazy CEOs out there. And you know what? I would argue actually most CEOs are crazy. And in fact, my stories are about how every CEO I've worked with is crazy. At the risk of this being videoed, we'll see. We'll just deal with that when we get back home. But let me begin by telling you a story. So I guess it was 5 or 6 years ago, I had just become the head of product at Hotel Tonight. For context, Hotel Tonight was a mobile-first booking tool. It was growing incredibly quickly. As its name, it allowed you to book a hotel tonight. It was a last-minute booking solution. I was an early user of the product. I loved the product. I loved traveling. I love hotels. For 2 years, I would email, call, text the CEO being like, "You ready to hire me yet? You ready to hire me yet?" And then one day he said yes. And I was like, oh my God, it's my moment. So I get in there. It's probably my second or third week. We're working on the project to go from same-day hotel bookings to 7 days of hotel bookings. Perfect. Here's my chance to shine. I'm going to lead the product team. We're going to do planet discovery. We're going to talk, understand what the users want. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going from 1 day of booking to 7 days of booking. So it's picking your day. How hard can it be? So then the CEO says, "I'm so excited about this project. I want to meet with you every morning about it. And then I'm going to do a design review with your team at 4 o'clock every afternoon." I'm like, what? Every day? Every day. For 3 months, every day. Legit, he would show up at people's desks. I'd be like, "There's nothing to review. We haven't done anything since you were last here." He's like, "I want to see what you're working on." I came home and I thought I had lost my mind. Was this the biggest career mistake I had ever made? All I wanted to do was work on this product. I was hired to run product, and now I have the CEO who's making me crazy. He's micromanaging me. He's telling me all the details about we're arguing about date pickers. We're arguing about font sizes. He's texting me in the middle of the night being like, "Hey, just talked to so-and-so, had this great idea. Don't you think we should implement it?" He made me nuts. I literally was like, that's it. I've got to put my resume together. So those are the crazy CEOs I want to talk about today. Why are they up in your business? Why are they so obsessed? Why, if these things are all so important, can't we get a little more help here? And why is your attention always on the wrong things? And why aren't you paying attention at the right moment? So, a little bit about me. I started my career in product management at a hospital software company called Eclipsys. From there, I went to a company called Snag-a-Job, which is an online marketplace for basically getting a job, an hourly worker marketplace. From there, I ran product at a software company named Prezi. I then, as I described, went and ran product at Hotel Tonight. And after 3 years doing that, moved over to a data and strategy role. And then about 6-9 months ago, I became CEO of a startup in San Francisco named Rabbit that does social co-viewing. And it's literally been that transition from product to CEO that has given me the magic CEO Decoder ring. There it is. I get it now. I understand a little bit, not completely, but I understand why CEOs are crazy. And I'm now a crazy CEO. So I just want to talk today through some specific questions that if I had been in your shoes 10 or 15 years ago, one, I was always asking them and afraid, or always thinking them and afraid to ask. And two, I probably could have grown faster, smarter, and better by knowing the answers. So let's cover these off today. 6 questions to talk about. 1, dear CEO, why are you micromanaging my features and telling me what to build? Anybody? Yeah, nearly every PM says that one. 2, the related but different problem. Dear CEO, why don't you care about my features? Equally terrible, somewhat related. We'll talk about that. 3, every PM has this problem. Why are you so obsessed with blank, right? This feature, this space, this market. We'll talk about that. 4, why can't we just get more help? If this is so important, let's just hire more people. I'll answer that question. Number 5, how can I get your attention? You're always focusing on the wrong things. How can I get your attention? And then number 6, one that I'm gonna guess most of you haven't actually asked. But as a CEO and being on stage, I'm gonna, for 30 seconds, tell you should ask it. How can I help you? All right, so let's jump in. First question, why are you micromanaging my features? As PMs, we know that our job is to go out, define the problem, work to discover the solution, really understand what's going on. CEOs, you're supposed to be setting company direction. You work on the mission, the vision. Why are you worried about features? The answer has to do actually with aperture. So let's talk about the aperture, or the area of focus of product management. You start as a junior product manager, you're probably focusing on a small feature, just getting started, getting your legs wet, getting ready to, run your scrums, figure out how everything works, know where the bathroom is. From there, you can then take on a workflow. As a product manager, you're probably owning a whole workflow and a set of steps to complete a task. Maybe you have a senior PM role or a director of product role where you go on to own a whole suite. And so now you're really serving an entire experience end to end. You then grow into a VP of product role where you're owning more of a business segment. Maybe you're owning a whole part of a business, the whole consumer section or this particular market segment. And then as chief product officer, you're really accountable for the entire customer experience. The CEO lives out here. But a lot of times, when the CEO is out here, what he or she is thinking gets translated back to the feature level. So if I think about my experience at Hotel Tonight, he had a much broader view, but was articulating this back to a specific feature set around date pickers and needs. And that was because he was worried about different things. 1, how are we going to grow as a company over the next 5 years? What are our competitors doing? What are our investors doing? How are we going to stay different? How are we going to stay relevant? How do we keep our options open as a business? And how do we have a path forward? So while we were arguing about the feature set, and specifically the date picker, going from 1 day to 7 days, what I didn't know, but he understood, was that we would go from 7 days to 100 days. And then actually 2 weeks ago, it was announced that Hotel Tonight was acquired by Airbnb, and now it has to go from 100 days to 365 days. So while we were arguing about our product today, he already had a vision of where the product was going to be in the future. It was just being articulated in very specific actions. So as a PM, what do you do about this? If this is your life, and you've got some CEO or some manager who's up in your business, go grab a beer. not by yourself, preferably with that person. Find some time, find some space, get some coffee, sit down, and try to get some more context about what's going on. Ask them where we're headed. Ask them why this is really important. Ask them how this plays into the bigger company strategy. What are all the pieces that are going to come together around this? Try to level up your point of view to be able to look back to why they're micromanaging this. Seek to understand and go get a beer. Let me tell you, as a CEO, no one ever invites me for a beer. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not fun. Maybe I'm not interesting. Probably because no one wants to spend their free time hanging out with their boss. It's okay, I get it. So be the one who reaches out and says, hey, I know we've been talking a lot about this. We'd just like to get 30 minutes and let's talk about what's going on in your world. Let's talk about the company strategy. Let's talk about what you're worried about. Let's talk about what the different perspectives are. So go out and grab a beer. Second problem, which is different, some of you may be sitting there being like, well, thank God my CEO doesn't micromanage me. He or she, they leave me alone. They don't even care. They let me do whatever I want. Well, let me tell you a story. This was my first product job at Eclipsys, which is a hospital software company. My CEO never logged into my product. I managed one of the kind of parts of a whole product suite for I worked specifically on the radiology piece. My CEO never logged into my product. He didn't know what it did. He didn't know what it looked like. And at the time, I thought, this is amazing. I'm the CEO of my product. I've got total autonomy. I can do whatever I want. He has total confidence in me. Wrong. Big red flag. As a PM, my job was to know my features, have a roadmap about where we were going. And as CEO, he needed to understand what products he had, and he wanted to understand the customer experience. But he was, again, thinking out about where the product was going. He was working on our business strategy. So if you think of a strategy as building a plan for success, he was trying to figure out how the business was going to succeed. I was trying to figure out how the product was going to succeed. The problem was, my product was not part of the business that we needed to succeed. Yeah, that sucked. So I kind of had this realization after about 18 months working on the product. He's so focused on all these other parts of the business and all these other strategic parts of the hospital, my product just wasn't important. It wasn't that I was super trusted or he was absolutely letting me be the CEO of my product. My bliss was my ignorance. It just wasn't strategically important to the business. So if this is your situation, it's time to find a new job. I spent a lot of time trying to think about, like, how would I have done this differently? There must be a better answer. How can you talk to a CEO about this? I can't come up with one. If this is you, it's time to go find a new product. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There are lots of products to choose from, but either your product is not important to the business or your CEO doesn't know that product management matters. Both of those are terrible outcomes. Run. So if that's you, it's time to get away. Question number 3. Why are you so obsessed? So my best example of this is a company named Prezi. So I worked at Prezi, which is presentation software. My CEO would text me, message me, call me, Slack, whatever, all the time. 24/7, he was sending me ideas and articles and things and just wanted to talk about it and feedback and features and bugs, and he was just obsessed. And I was exhausted. I was like, what is with this guy? He either needs to get married or get a life or have children or do something to keep him entertained. Because as I reflect back, I really needed to care about the users and my competitors, and he certainly was worried about the stakeholders and the company's survival, but why was he being so manic? And the truth of the matter is, I just didn't care like he did. It just wasn't my passion. Ironically, as someone who's giving a presentation, I'm going to say, I didn't care about presentation software. It just wasn't a problem I wanted to worry about. He spent all of his time thinking about presentations, but I just wasn't fired up about it. It wasn't something important to me. The beauty of product management is there are so many options, particularly now. There has never been a better time to be product managers. Congratulations. It's exciting. Tons of companies have product management jobs. You can work on different types of users. You can work on different industries. You can look at different business models. There's different stages. There's different product types. There are so many interesting things going on. So when you go home, whether that's on a train or a plane or whatever it is, your method, what is it you think about and obsess about? That's what you should be working on. Because to the credit of the CEO of Prezi, who I did think was crazy, he was crazy in the right way. He was obsessed with the problem. This was what his passion was. This is what he wanted to work on. This is what he worried about when he would go home at night. It just wasn't right for me. So if you're in this situation and you think your CEO is more obsessed than you are, it's probably worth finding a bigger problem you care about or a different problem. There's lots of problems out there. Just take the time to work on something that you love. Having then gone from Prezi to Hotel Tonight, which was a product and a problem I did love, many of you may be thinking how horribly boring to do hotel bookings, but I loved it. That's the beauty of it. There's so much diversity out there. Find a problem you love where you do want to talk about it on the weekends, and that is what you want to be excited about. Question number 4. Why don't we get more people? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, if this is so important, why can't we get more people? All right, so when I started my career in product management and a hospital software company, we only had product management. We didn't even have design. I'm sorry, designers. And frankly, I'm sorry for our users because the design was done by our front-end engineers, and it is as bad as what you're thinking. From there, I went to a company named Snag a Job, where I had product managers and designers. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But quickly you're like, oh, there's never enough designers, and there's so many products and things to be done, and who's managing the Jira and prioritizing and Scrums? We could just use more help. So when I left Snag a Job and I went to Prezi, if nothing else, had a plethora of people. We had product managers, we had UX designers and UI designers and user researchers. And then we got data analysts. It was great. You know what? Not a goddamn thing ever got done. We had so many people to have Scrum was like having the United Nations come together. It was ridiculous. So look, as product managers, your job is to find the best solution you can find within your control. Get creative. Figure out where you can find the skills. You don't need a dedicated person because your CEO is worried about managing the resources, managing the spending, and trying to find the right problem to solve in the organization. So if I reflect on how product has grown from with the original concept of a core team, which probably came out like 20 years ago, now these like core teams have like, I don't know, like, you know when you step on you can step on a pregnant spider and like they kind of like shoot out and there's like all these different versions? This is what's happening to product management. We now have product managers, we have program managers, designers, user researchers, engineers. But it gets better. We have product managers, we have data analysts, program managers, data designers, UX designers, user researchers, lead engineers, and my new favorite one, data science, a dedicated data scientist. Never mind that our problem needs data science to solve, we're just going to dedicate a data scientist to it. I was actually having breakfast with a friend who now works at Airbnb, didn't come from Hotel Tonight, and she was laughing. She's like, I look around, I wonder what these people do all day. Every team is filled with 8 people who don't even code. What are we going to do? So there's an old expression that 9 women in 1 month do not make a baby. Adding people to the problem does not necessarily make it go faster. So know that more people just mean endless meetings, impossible to schedule, and then the worst thing of all, consensus. Because now you need 8 people to all agree on the solution. And finding that optima is so impossible. So as I think about my job as the CEO, all of my product teams are worried about their local optima, right? So if we put a product team on checkout, for instance, they're going to solve for what's going on within checkout. But what I want to do as CEO is look above on the organization and try to see where we can have a bigger optima, the global optimum. And so if I put all of my people on checkout, no one's going to see that the problem is actually in search. And so as you're trying to think through, why won't my CEO give me more people? Maybe you genuinely do need more people, but I would encourage you to solve for the skills. Don't tell me you need more people. Tell me what skill you need. Do you need a specific type of data science? Do you really need a dedicated data scientist or machine learning expert? Can someone on your team, maybe you have a passionate engineer who wants to go take an ML class. Maybe you yourself need to brush up on your own data analytics skills and want to spend some time figuring that out on your own. Recognize when you need an expert versus when you just need a little help and good enough will get you there. And then for all of you, please appreciate that lean really is faster. It may not be perfect, it may be a ton of work, but that's part of the fun, is that you get to do a lot of different things. So, let's jump to question 5. Dear CEO, how can I get your attention? We're all very busy. So for me, this story comes from my first VP product role at a company named Snagajob. So this is where I was managing the team. I wanted to impress him. I wanted to show him how great I was. I had everything under control. So we'd have our one-on-ones, and I'd be like, you know what? Things are great. I got this, no problem. How can I help you? What do you think we should implement? What do you think we should do? And pretty quickly, I realized I had just made a huge mistake. Because no one tells the CEO what's really going on. Trust me, no one tells me what's going on. And no one wants to be wrong. So by sugarcoating everything, not telling him what was wrong, and by not spending my time really making strong recommendations, I was boring. And so I didn't get his attention. And I didn't get the help when I needed it. So if you're in a situation where you're trying to get on your CEO's radar, what can you do? Tell the truth. Be willing to speak up, say when things are good, and say when things are bad. Don't sugarcoat it. Because by the way, CEOs in general are not stupid. They can see through when people are like, yeah, things are great. I'm like, things are not great. I just walked into a room and you were arguing. Just tell the truth. Make recommendations and place bets. So I should have spent more time making strong recommendations and placing bets and be like, we really should go this direction, or we really should work on this. My hesitance was that I didn't want to be wrong, but it was such a missed opportunity to really speak up and advocate for something I believed in. And then finally, just always be a place for facts. You really have to be the one in the organization where the CEO can get facts. So, question 6. With 20 seconds, I am going to ask you to ask your CEO for help. CEOs need help. What are they looking for? Someone who can go get stuff done. Someone who's resourceful. Someone who cares. And someone who's going to do the right thing even when no one's looking. So think about whether you've actually ever asked your CEO if you could help him or her with what's going on. And maybe, if you want some brownie points, maybe do it right before bonus and raise season. You go ask and say, how can I help? This is how you can help. So, I hope you learned that most CEOs are not crazy. I will not be accountable for all of them. But most of them are not crazy. And hopefully these are some tips that will help you accelerate your career and things that I wish I had known. So what's your to-do list? What do I want you to go from here and do tomorrow morning? 1, get a beer. Go align your vision with the CEO's vision. 2, make sure you're working on a product that you're passionate about. 3, be scrappy. Find a way to get it done. Be honest. Make great recommendations, strong recommendations. Even if you're wrong, just take a stand, put your neck out there, and get shit done. So, thank you for the time. I appreciate your attention. I hope you have a great day.